This is the Self Storage Podcast, where we share the knowledge and skills from the industry's leading investors, developers, and operators to help you launch and grow your self-storage business. I'm your host, Scott Meyers, and over the past 16 years, we have acquired, developed, converted, and syndicated over 2 million square feet of self-storage nationwide with the help of my incredible team at selfstorageinvesting.com, who has helped thousands of people achieve greatness in self-storage. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Self Storage Podcast. I am your host, Scott Meyers, and my guest on today's episode will be Anne-Marie DeCoster. Now, Anne-Marie is the COO and head of onboarding at Store Local Storage Co-op and has a Bachelor of Science and a Master of Science from Georgetown University and is a happily married mother of 4 sons. She also holds a seat as an officer of the Arizona Self-Storage Association and is proud to serve on the Charity Storage Board of Directors. Anne-Marie has an extensive background in business and management and has been focusing her efforts in the self-storage industry for almost 2 decades. And her role as Chief Operating Officer of Store Local is perfectly aligned with a career devoted to advancing the cause of the independent small business owner. As COO, Anne is responsible for design, development, and delivery of products and services that help the independent owner remain just that, independent and profitable. Anne's charitable work focuses on support for and involvement in local and international efforts to raise children out of poverty, provide opportunity for refugees and victims of human trafficking, support for infrastructure projects in less developed countries, promote adoption and foster parenting, and find alternative treatments and cures for cancer. Anne, it is an honor and a privilege to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Well, Anne, so that is a little bit of your background, and my gosh, what an extensive career and a fun life it sounds like you have, and a busy one at that. So tell us what the background and some of the turns you've taken, and the list is long, of businesses that you've been involved in and industries. Tell us how you landed in self-storage.
Well, actually, self-storage chose me. About 20 years ago, an independent self-storage operator was leaning on the desk of a friend, and he said, "I need help." That friend called her daughter called me, I called him, we went to lunch. That day, I started writing his self-storage business plans. So at the time, although I started my career working with generals and admirals doing real war games for the Office of the Secretary of Defense, I was the chief domestic officer, raising an army of my own with my sons. But I was also looking to spin up my consulting business. So that was a perfect segue into self-storage, and that is how the industry chose me.
Oh, fantastic. And it kind of does, doesn't it? I was involved in real estate for a number of years, and then self-storage kind of chose me. I was on a different path, but very, very thankful for that. So, from the beginning then, 20 years ago, you've always, you just jumped right in, helping, not necessarily active, but helping people that are in the storage business. And so,
independent owners, yes.
Yeah. So no surprise, fast forward, that we find you then representing these independent owners at Store Local. So if you would give us the genesis of how the co-op all came to be and how all the players involved were able to buy into that vision and that vision that you had.
Well, a lot of it came from the battle over data. Data is a very big deal in our industry right now. It's currency in every industry. And there were many owner operators who were finding that they could not easily access their data. If they wanted to make a change in their technology, their vendors, their products, their services, they were being told by their current vendors, no, you can't take your data. You can't have your data, your customers, your accounts payable, your payment records. And that did not set well with the independent owner operators. The word independent really means a lot to them. They want to run their business. You all want to run your business according to your own choices so that you can determine which technology you use and how you offer it and what you offer and when, and have negotiating power over price as well. That was all dwindling. And that was why Store Local Co-op was formed. Lance Watkins, with the help of many industry leaders, formed the co-op in 2014. Travis Morrow was involved early on, Dane Elefante at Platinum. Many of the industry leaders that the independent owner operators in our industry, have been there since the beginning, hundreds of them, with over 1,300 properties, close to 1,400 properties. And they came together because They needed help. We need help solving problems. The problems that the industry faces for the independent owner operator, they're larger than you can solve on your own. So it's for owners and by owners. That's what self-storage is. That's what Store Local is. We exist to solve independent owners' problems. By banding together to compete against the deep pockets that are investing in our industry, we even the playing field. So together, Store Local gives you the buying power of a REIT. It partners you with like-minded industry leaders, and it gives you practical solutions to everyday problems like help with local SEO or access to lower price credit card processing, new signage, or automated access control like No Key Smart Access by Janus, which is rapidly becoming the industry standard because the REITs are investing in it. So that's what today's Amazon-trained consumer will come to expect. We help you spot those things and then invest in your business in such a way that you bring it up to the standard of today's consumer and then can compete with the REITs, with the buying power that the co-op offers you, and the variety of products and services that we offer as well, from Store Local Voluntary Brand Program to Store Local Protection to the member benefits offered through our B2B website, selfstorage.coop, wherein you'll find services like Acquire for Hire to help you recruit and hire for your staffing needs, Store Local Store, Member Store, as well as the Brand Store to help you buy everything from branded pens to uniforms, and member events. Well, as soon as we're allowed to have events again. And in the meantime, we have PPE in these COVID times, which hopefully will be turning the corner soon.
Well, Anne Marie, obviously, we're big believers in being in the co-op and on the platform at our facilities. And if I could summarize the benefits on our end, it's like getting really all the good things that are available in the greater marketplace for self-storage products and services all in one shop. Having the platform, first of all, of like-minded individuals who are, we're not adversarial with, the REITs. I mean, they're our clients, and they're friendly competitors in many instances, but just a way to be able to level the playing field for those of us that don't have the deeper pockets and the resources being stretched across,
Right.
but getting that economies of scale by partnering with and, having that mastermind of folks that are just like us, that are growing and scaling, that where we play in that sandbox just below the REITs, and then sharing our best business practices and what we're seeing in the marketplace, and banding together as a group to have that economies of scale when it comes to buying power and negotiation for the national services, and then getting out the buy-in, as you mentioned, with No Key and some of the insurance providers and everywhere else. So having that, it's like the benefits of being a part of the a self-storage association, a mastermind,
Right.
the buying power of some larger folks, and being able to keep abreast in the communication. Probably the biggest piece, the benefits that we have is fantastic, that the communication that we have back from your organization as to, when new agreements are being signed and new practices are being shared and learned about, that has been key for us. So we have been very thankful and nothing but excited about the direction, the resource that we have, and then also the direction that we're now able to head as a result of having Store Local behind us. So call it a disclaimer, but that's the reason why we brought you on the show, is to discuss that. So let's talk about, so that's your summary, that's my summary. I wanted to dig into a couple of pieces here. As you said, the genesis really was the data. And there's nothing more frustrating than competing against somebody who has all the data, but then also in an instance in which we're utilizing a property management company and not making them out to be evil or bad, but it's just that that's the way they operate. And when you bring in a third-party property management company, they tend to keep that data and take some of it with them. And even from a website standpoint, you have to start all over again if you move away. So that being the biggest piece. But let's talk about the data and how important that is for us to be able to keep that. If we could just drill down on that for a few more minutes.
Absolutely. Data is currency today, and you need your data that you use to run your business so that you know which demographics you can penetrate further in your local business area, so that you know who are your best customers, who stays the longest, who has the greatest lifetime value. You can appeal to those people for referrals, a huge source of rentals in our business. And then also you can look for similar communities as you look for your next project, which is the thing that we like to free up independent owner operators to do by helping with a lot of the operational issues. Because our industry is filled with people who have diversified real estate portfolios. And you do deals because they make sense. And we want you to be able to spend the time and energy that it takes to sort out, to vet out the good from the bad. And so by having easy access to your data, you can evaluate that better. You can also curate your business more effectively. And what we're finding is that with one vendor after another, if you want to change vendors, suppose you use a digital marketing firm and you have a campaign, a couple of campaigns, maybe you've decided they're just not the firm for you, you want to switch it up, or you're unhappy with their services, they will not give you the analytics from your campaign. They consider that data to be their data, although you paid them for the campaign, and the leads are your leads and the closed leads are your rentals. They won't give you that data and those statistics so that you can take it to the next firm and say, this is what didn't work. Can you try something that will work? And that's very frustrating for an independent owner operator. You know, for independents, having freedom of choice to determine how you run your business and which vendors you use is critical. And having that currency of data is likewise critical.
Mm-hmm. So, Anne-Marie, this is very timely. We just watched The Social Dilemma, the movie, the documentary,
yes.
If you will, last evening, and
Yes.
the parallels and to what you're stating. Attention is the new currency, period. And if you can tap into people's buying decisions and the algorithm that people's minds go through when they make a buying decision, or in our case, a decision to rent at one facility versus another, and all the other decisions, that is what separates the wheat from the chaff. And if you you only have the end result, but then you don't have the algorithm when you move from one vendor to another, that's the ball game right there. So
Absolutely.
if there's anybody that refutes that, I will say that it's not enough to just ask, how did you find us, and check that box at the bottom of your rental agreement. There's a host of all types of data out there, as we've seen, that is critical to making the decisions that we make, not only at that existing facility, but then into the future as we're growing and scaling our business. What would you add to that?
Absolutely. Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about, there are a lot of things that you raised there that are very interesting. I mean, I was thinking about the debates that we have internally about attribution. What is the actual cause of the rental? Was it because they remember driving by and seeing your sign, or is it because you've dripped out a campaign to them over the last 6 months when they weren't looking for storage, so that when they were, the consumer has you on top of mind? I mean, is it first touch? Is it last touch? And so we have experts on that in our ecosystem. And I'd like to talk a little bit about that ecosystem, in that in 2019, Store Local Storage Co-op formed Tenant Inc., which is a tech company 100% owned by owner operators. So it's a vendor that is owner owned. All of the investors, all of the owners are actually independent self-storage owner operators. And the job of Tenant really is renting reimagined. It's a breath of fresh air in the self-storage industry. And we give owners the freedom of choice to choose the technology of their choice, and then also how they want to operate. The tech stack, the variety of products include Mariposa, which is a B2C rather, consumer website, so consumers can find you and rent from you online. There's Hummingbird, which is the operating system to help with that's designed with freedom of choice so that you can determine how you run your business. It's all connected by Nectar, which is the global distribution system, the first in the industry. It's like what the hotel industry and the airline industry, many other industries use to bring together pieces of software so that they can all operate in an integrated and an efficient way. And then in addition to that, digital marketing services, pay-per-click management, digital signage, tenant interface. Many of these products you're familiar with, Scott, because you've not only explored them, but you use them in projects that you are an owner and investor in. So what I'd like to emphasize about the data debate is that written into every single contract of Tenant Inc. and of Store Local is that you own your data. We don't own it. We are using it on your behalf to accomplish your business ends. That's our philosophy. That's our DNA. and also open API, very important aspect of the philosophy at Tenant Inc. Our objective is to integrate with any vendor of any product and service of your choice. Now, integration is a two-way street, because not only do we design the software that is easy to integrate with, but then of course the vendor has to do some software development on their own, so that the two can link. And then also I have to say that while the universe is our dream, we have to start somewhere. So for instance, now we integrate with about 5 or 6 gate systems, including no-key smart access, 2 payment processors, and then a couple of each of everything else. Our objective is to get at least one of each vertical represented, and then add more and more to enhance your freedom of choice, and then also to increase your negotiating power. Because if a vendor knows that you can leave, then they're more inclined to give you the kind of superior service that we strive for, the kind of customer experience that we create, and the power over pricing that you need.
Well, Anne Marie, we could touch on any one of those topics that you just mentioned, and what you have done to build the ecosystem from, not only the data, but the buying power. We talk about the access control and the no-key system, from marketing, website, the actual software itself with Hummingbird, the protection program that has been in place. Each one of those is a podcast in its own. But let's, at a 30,000 foot level, when we talk about the ecosystem, tell us how either you define success for the platform and the people that are using it, and maybe even share some successes that people are having that they may not have been able to have on their own, by way of perhaps testimonials, or what you're seeing as a result of these independent owners now being more competitive where they weren't before.
Absolutely. At Store Local, we exist to solve your problems. And one of the problems was that today's technology in the self-storage industry had not kept up with the pace of expectations of consumers. So the software, the operating systems are 20-year-old code, or they're very, very, let's say, complex code that doesn't always play nicely with itself. That didn't sound right, did it? Well, code that is not clean and efficient and bug-free. Now, getting bug-free code, of course, is a challenge, in that it takes time for software to become stable. But in a dynamic environment where you're adding new features and enhancing functionality on a day-to-day basis, it's like the world is your oyster when you're using Tenant products and Store Local products, because we're constantly investing in more and more opportunities. Ramsey Storage Center, that's a Store Local, a voluntary brand member, is the first in the industry to use the no-key smart access technology, Hummingbird as an operating system, Mariposa as a website, as well as digital signage and tenant interface, all integrated through Nectar, our GDS, so that they can facilitate touchless rentals for consumers. They opened as coronavirus shut down our economy, and yet still, because they had this touchless technology, they were able to proceed with their business plan. Everybody's lease up has been affected. Anyone who opened a new store in 2020 has been affected by COVID. But because this particular store, Ramsey in Ramsey, Minnesota, has been able to seek renters, to acquire renters, to compete with the competition around them, and to operate according to their choice with an absolute highest level of standard, meeting the highest expectation of today's consumer, because it is from the phone or the computer, or walking in the store with an interface at the store, or working with a manager. The consumer can rent however they want to, over the phone or on the phone. Complete choice, complete freedom of choice for the consumer as well as for the operator.
Well, Anne Marie, I don't want to, and the goal wasn't here to toot our own horn, but I am a partner in the Ramsey Storage Center with Bob and Mary. So yes, I was thankfully 3 weeks ago now, was able to go up and see our facility that, Bob's been the only one allowed on site as an owner during COVID to get this thing opened and up and running. And it was killing me and Mary not to be able to get out. But 3 weeks ago, was able to go visit our baby and see
Mm-hmm.
firsthand, how the entire ecosystem, as you mentioned, each and every piece
Mm-hmm.
operating.
Mm-hmm.
And I again, not to toot around the horn, but that facility is the envy of the industry right now.
Yes,
There is
it is.
we've got 2.2 million square feet of storage and over 13,000 units. And that exceeded my expectations. As I went through as a consumer, first of all, just to see it as it's been done, and the
Mm-hmm.
office and the layout from everything, taking all cues from
Mm-hmm.
you and really none of
Mm-hmm.
our own,
Mm-hmm.
to see
Mm-hmm.
how this all laid out. And the user experience is incredible. And so there's no way to be able to
Mm-hmm.
experience that unless you go in it. But I would invite anybody to go to ramseystorageCenter.com to get a feel for what the site looks like, what it's like to reserve and rent a unit online, and get a visual on the office and that facility. It is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely an incredible piece. And we couldn't be happier that we were able to present this to the public and be able to use it, and that we get to have our name associated with it. Is just incredible. And so again, after that, I said, all right, we've got to get the store local folks here on a podcast and share this thing with the rest of everyone out there. So for that, I wanted to thank you, but you are right. It's been an incredible ride, and we're looking forward to great things as we roll this out across other platforms and other facilities.
Exciting. I have to say, it's been a pure pleasure to work with Bob Mikulak. He's been a real champion for trying new technology and making it all work together. He's not a technologist.
Right.
He is an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
and he has been very successful in choosing and combining and offering the most modern technology, cutting edge technology to the consumer, and always a pleasure to work with as well. I mean, you probably have the same experience that I have, that every time you call him, he is actually physically working there at the site. And so to your invitation to all of our listeners and viewers today to go and visit, when you go to Ramsey, you will probably meet Bob, as well as Bill, his manager, and Brandon, the other manager. I mean, they have a great crew. They're a pleasure to work with. And so I just had hats off, absolutely hats off to Bob Mikulak and his team there at Ramsey Storage Center, Store Local.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job, and it's always a great day when you talk to Bob. He's always having a great day. He's never had a bad or a down day. I'm thankful for him as a partner. So let's
it's the gift of enthusiasm.
It is, isn't it? Yes. So let's I want to circle back and stop pointing so much kudos to ourselves, but let's talk about the industry, Anne-Marie. So we jokingly say around here that our goal is total self-storage world domination, and that's and we say that jokingly because we want to do the best that we can do in the sandbox that we play in, which is below the REITs, and being competitive with them. They are our customer. They buy our facilities from us at times, or we wholesale projects off to them from time to time as well. But where do you see what is the goal for Store Local going forward, and how do you see it fitting into the landscape as we see it right now? And the pandemic isn't going to last forever. We're thankful to be in self storage because it is an essential business, and we can do all this by way of being touchless and contact free. And as we head into the looming recession, we know that self storage always benefits from that. So, tell us what you see on the horizon in terms of your viewpoint of what's going to happen in self-storage over the next couple of years, but then more specifically, how Store Local is going to respond to that, and how you're poised to, as you prepare for this perfect storm that we're going to be seeing in the next few years.
Well, seeing where we are now necessitates reflection on where we've been. And if you look at the statistics over the past 10 years, REIT market share doubled in 10 years. That's stunning. In a lot of the primary markets, their ownership is as deep as 40 or 50%. So to a large extent, the primary markets have been decimated for the independent self-storage owner by the REITs. Many of the secondary markets as well. Now, we're seeing many portfolio purchases. The recent one, Blackstone purchasing Simply Self Storage. I mean, that's gets a lot of attention in the industry. And if you reflect back on the Life Self Storage portfolio purchase about 5 years ago, and then the other portfolio purchases in there, clearly portfolios are highly sought after, and it paints a picture in which the middle is being gutted. Now we have REITs medium to large operators, and we have independents. Independents being about 72% of the self-storage properties, owning about 72% of those. Many of those only owning one or two self-storage properties, and those are the folks that you primarily work with, Scott, and that we primarily work with as well. We see an environment in which the REITs are becoming larger. The medium-sized portfolios are likely to be purchased. The middle is getting smaller, and we want to help the independents remain profitable and independent. And that's what our products and services at Store Local Co-op are designed to do. As you said, I liked very much the way you said it, one-stop shopping for the best in the industry. And then also Tenant Inc.'s technology, from the consumer-facing website to the operating system to the rest of the technology. It's so exciting being in that environment, because that the next good idea is just around the corner, and we're going to be running just as hard after that as we are after the ones that we're developing right now. Mm-hmm. So I envision an environment in which the middle is being gutted, mm-hmm. and I would encourage everyone interested in the field, as well as all of you who are in the field, to remember that our industry has diversified product. It's not all glam storage, as lovely as new beautiful properties are. There are B and C class properties in secondary and tertiary markets that are still great value add opportunities. And so seeking the smaller, older properties that have not kept pace with consumer expectations, properties that you can invest in to remodel and add technology to bring it up to today's consumer expectations, the Amazon trained consumer, those are huge opportunities for independents. I would encourage you to take advantage of the consumer's affinity, love affair for all things local sourced, local owned, local business, local market, local cause. Store Local is certainly focusing on that theme. And then also to not reinvent the wheel. As you pointed out, there are resources that are available. They've been developed by professionals, and you have access to them by being a member of a group like yours and a co-op like ours. We can put you in connection with the people who develop them and then help you use the resources. I'd encourage anyone who's new to the industry not to skimp in due diligence, because the judgment to differentiate the good project from the others, it takes time to develop. It's a gift, but it's a curated gift that's developed over time. So definitely don't hesitate to hire that expertise. And then finally, and I think most importantly, keep it simple. Self-storage is successful because it's a simple business model. And there are other kinds of storage and other things entering storage that are, they dazzle, they glisten, they're interesting, but they take you out of self-storage. For instance, valet storage. It changes the bailment issue. It makes you responsible for the stored property. So it takes you out of self-storage and into warehousing. Whole new set of statutes, whole new set of complications. Or mobile pods, perhaps tempting, but again, it takes you out of self-storage and puts you in a warehousing, because you're responsible for the stored goods, transportation, as well as logistics. Much more complicated, a lot more overhead. So the bottom line is keep it self-service and keep it simple.
That has been our business model since I started 15 years ago, and what we teach our folks as well, which is starting where most people do anyways, which is a lesser expensive facility, typically a Class C, and the goal is to take it to a B. You can't take a B to an A, and you can't start with an A. You're not going to be able to compete, and so that's where we begin. And so we turn it around, we add technology, we cure the vacancy, and we seek purposely sites that were on 5 acres or 4 acres, and they only had buildings on 2 to 3 acres where we could expand and be in the path of progress. But then, at the time, adding kiosks to it, which was an expensive affair back in 2005 and 2006 compared to where we are today.
It was.
And we didn't have the ability. There weren't responsive websites where anybody had the ability to rent on their phone. And so the business model, has not changed fundamentally, but the tools and the strategies and the tactics, both in the marketplace and in self-storage, has allowed us to continue to do that, and then now continue to do that at scale. And so, Anne Marie, if I could, where we see using store local are in two fashions. One, which is the way that we've been talking about right now, which is to have to remain competitive for the independent owner who is looking to have 1, 2, maybe 3 facilities, and then perhaps to have an advantage over his competition who continues to stay behind and not upgrade to the latest and greatest in technology and information and data is one. But then also, as you mentioned, 72% are independent still. We've got I think the REITs are somewhere around 9 to 10%. And then we've got the balance, which are the hedge funds, some insurance companies, some some national but regional players, not necessarily REITs, that are then also consolidating and rolling up and then perhaps selling off, similar to what Simply is doing. And so we see in that middle it being gutted, but at the same time, perhaps an opportunity to find facilities that are very similar that can be placed onto the store local platform that are managed essentially the same way, on a common platform, that are more or less turnkey, that can be, whether by design or even by default, where there's a group or a gaggle or dozens or hundreds of facilities that operate that way, that then could also either be rolled up or sold off or positioned differently to be even more competitive. Are you seeing that right now, and folks perhaps even with that plan, or is that just kind of happening by default by utilizing your platform in the middle?
Well, I can say that you're looking at the industry and drawing similar conclusions. Those who are looking at the industry, that's what they're seeing, and finding a way to take advantage of that is, of course, the biggest opportunity. And Scott, I see the logo now.
Yep,
okay,
sorry.
now I'm back to you.
Yep,
okay,
yep,
no problem. It's a great logo.
Well, that's and again, we could talk a lot about that, and everybody could get their crystal ball out and guess where we're heading. But right now, all I can say is, we once again never. I've said this at least probably 2 or 3 dozen times since March. We do not celebrate a pandemic, and we do not celebrate recessions. There's a whole host of bad things that are happening and will continue to happen as we head into a recession. But at the same time, it's recognizing and understanding, where we are, and that we provide an essential service to people, and to be able to do it competitively so that we are around to be able to do that the best way that we can is our mission as well as our business. And have been nothing but thankful that we now have more tools and resources for the little guys and gals, or littler guys and gals, through Store Local and what you're offering. And so we appreciate your dedication to not only us and everybody else listening out there, but also for, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention your heart and passion for missions. If you could tell us how that came about. Has that been recent? Is that throughout your life? Was that ingrained early on? Tell us how that journey has looked for you.
Well, I will be dating myself to say I remember as a little girl watching the Sally Struthers commercials about feeding starving children in Africa, and saying to my mom, Mom, let's get a family, let's get a child. And all of my life really just wanting to do that. And so when I found myself as a mother who could take care of my children with my first son, I wanted to help another mother be able to do that. So through Compassion International, we started sponsoring a child that was in Zaire at that point. I wanted a country, having been a student of war and worked in the defense industry, I wanted to help people who were in a war zone. And there was a war going on in Zaire at that time. And Kasembo was our first child, and his entire village was lost in that war a few months later. And so Compassion International asked us if we would sponsor David, who is from Uganda. And he is now 31 years old. We are in regular contact several times a week. He's married. He and his wife are both children of Compassion. They were both able to go to college through Compassion scholarships. Their family has been lifted out of poverty to the maximum extent possible. They have 3 children, and their oldest daughter's named Anne Marie, which is a great honor to me that my firstborn named his first child after me. So with each child that I had, we added another family. And so over the years, we've had families in Colombia, Uganda, and Zaire. And as well, there are a plethora of opportunities to help people wherever you are, whether it's where you live or where you go, to open your home, to open your heart to those in need. I've always believed that you change the world one person at a time. And by investing in love and care in individual human beings, regardless of their likeness to you or their dislikeness to you, it makes a difference. It makes the world a better place, and it makes all of us better people.
Mm-hmm. Well, Anne Marie, we've had a few conversations, mostly focused on business, and haven't had a chance to learn more about you and your passion for helping and giving back as well. So I'm thankful for that, and also to know that our path is very similar. Our charitable giving, if you will, started with Compassion International, and my wife was doing the exact same thing. And we've adopted 4 kiddos. We have 3 children. We adopted 4 kiddos through Compassion, and my wife sought out kiddos that were born on the exact same day as our children. So in the beginning, so our 3 children have grown up with having a Compassion International brother or sister. And as you know, the letters that come, first of all, that went back and forth, but the letters that we received, them praying for us, for those who had absolutely nothing, has just been an incredible blessing for our family. And we have 3 of them graduated, and 1 on to college, and then we've taken on 1 more, and it's just been incredible. And you are right, as we also got involved in, we tithe 10% of our profits in our businesses, and we build houses in Mexico and the Dominican Republic. And without going into a long detail of how that came about, it's been a blessing to be able to build now a dozen houses, and we pay for our friends, family, coworkers, partners, vendors to go and to experience, what that's like to go onto the mission field and see what a true blessing and have that experience, and helping and assisting in, as you mentioned, changing one family, ending that generation of poverty, that cycle of poverty, one family at a time, and the blessing that comes out of that for so many people. And that is, that's why we continue to do what we do. And we could certainly stop, or could have stopped a while back in terms of the growth of our company. But we feel, once you get that sense of responsibility, it helps you persevere through some of the challenges that we go through life and in business at times. But thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for giving back. And it's just been an honor and a pleasure to spend time with you today, Anne Marie.
Thank you. I've watched your activities, your investments, and your ways for years in different aspects of the industry. And I've always admired the paths through that you find. And so it's really nice to be working together now. And I thank you for the investment that you make in other human beings all around the world. And I know that you've experienced the same thing that I experience on a regular basis, that it makes me better. And it just fills me with the most positive energy and aspirations and excitement. And that's the same way that we think about self-storage in Store Local and Tenant, that we really truly are here to help people like you, who are business owners who want to continue doing good things, like things that you're doing. So thank you for that, and thank you for your partnership.
Yeah, well, thank you, Anne Marie, and agree 1,000%. So, Anne Marie, as we wrap up here, again, I want to thank you so much for your time. Is there any parting words that you would like to give to our listeners out there, that perhaps even during these times, and as we're heading into some more challenging times, what would you leave everybody with?
I would continue the theme we've most recently been talking about: kindness towards other human beings, good behavior, regardless of how you feel. It makes such a difference to your renters, to your vendors, to your partners, left, right, and center. It makes the world a better place. And the more kindness we share, the better we all get.
Yep. Agreed. We have to be good stewards of our employees and our clients, especially, I would say, especially in storage. People may not look at it the same way, but many people that come into our doors, their hair's on fire. They've got trauma and transition in their business, and they need a smile and some kind words to help them through sometimes many sticky situations. So, With that, Anne-Marie, once again, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to the time where we can get back together in person, and look forward to working on our next project together, and getting the Store Local platform involved in our next facility. So once again, thank you, Anne-Marie.
Absolutely. We look forward to that too. Thank you, Scott.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening as always. Now, we're going to be talking about topics like this that are on target for the times that we find ourselves in. So it is important that you are listening to this podcast every single week, because the guests that I'm going to be bringing on and the topics we will be covering are relevant to what we are all going through right now. And it's just going to get better and better and better in terms of the content that we're going to be discussing, and it's going to be more timely than ever. So please, make sure you subscribe to the show, and make sure you're paying attention to these episodes as they are coming out during this period, as I am specifically going out and finding guests who are providing really valuable information you need right now. So thank you so much. We'll see you next week.